It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
It's good to have you once again on the podcast Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. I'm the host, Omobola Stephen. On the podcast Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, we share disruptive yet constructive mindship conversations on topics and subjects that are related to personal development and self-improvement because we've come to realize the importance of embracing personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives. Because when we do so, we tend to find ourselves along the way, and in finding ourselves, we realize that there's so much possibilities and opportunities that life is always willing to offer us when we don't give up in embracing this personal development and also as we intentionally improve on ourselves. This is the mission and the focus of Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. We offer transformative insight that is going to pivot the positive changes you and I need in this life. Today on the podcast, I have Rhonda Nelson, who is a renowned patient advocate, an author, speaker, and philanthropist on the show. Welcome with me on Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, Rhonda Nelson.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you today.
Thanks for joining me on the show, Rhonda. We will be talking about overcoming challenges that are associated with AERD. Now, for the benefit of the audience, AERD is Aspirin Exacerbated Respiratory Disease, and the importance of never giving up hope for relief. So thanks for joining me on the show, and I'm looking forward to a great time indeed.
Me too.
All right. Now, once again, you serve as you serve on the executive board of directors with the Asthma and Allergy Network. You impacted legislation and speak naturally, raising awareness for AERD. Can you share with my audience on how your charitable work began? Let's say, why are you on this mission indeed?
Back in 2020, I became sick at the very beginning of the year, and I thought that I had a cold, and you know, it didn't ever get better. Things were getting worse. I also thought that I possibly could have because I wasn't in my home state at the time. I was in another state, so I thought, well, maybe it's just seasonal allergies or a cold or something like that. Now, mind you, I had never had problems with allergies really. I'd never had problems with asthma. I'd never had problems with sinus infections. I'd never had problems with nasal polyps. And you'll see why I say all of that. So once I got back home, instead of getting better, things got worse. And it literally took me 2 years, a little over 2 years, about 2.5 years, to get a diagnosis. That diagnosis wasn't reached until I'd had surgery to remove nasal polyps. I had gone through asthma shots, which only made my condition worse. And luckily, I had moved to North Carolina, and I found a physician that knew exactly what I had, and that was Aspirin Exacerbated Respiratory Disease, or as we commonly call it, AERD. And that's really what started this journey. You know, I have moved around the country a lot, and so it's been very difficult, especially in the early years of diagnosis, to find physicians that were well acquainted with this disease, well acquainted with the protocols to get it under medical maintenance and to have it well maintained. And so I knew I wasn't the only one. Like this just, you're not in this big wide world. We're not the only one facing this. And so because the internet has given us a path to find a lot of things, now there are a lot of forums that I'm on with patients and from all over the world, and we can share resources, talk about things that are going on, etc. But that's what led my passion was, it's from the outside, AERD patients look okay. They look fine. They don't look sick. Um, but it's a very debilitating disease if it's not well managed.
All right. Now you've experienced many misdiagnoses, having dealt with AERD yourself. Now you have a personal experience, as you just shared earlier. To those who share the same experience, what is the message of hope to them?
I just really believe that you cannot give up, no matter how difficult it is to find a diagnosis, whether it's for AERD or whatever medical challenge you are facing. Hope is what keeps the energy within to keep you pushing forward to get the answers that you need for yourself and for your body. And so I just really say, be your own advocate. Do not give up. Do not leave any stone unturned when you're doing research. Arm yourself with your research when you visit your physicians, and you will find a physician or a medical team, group of physicians that will be able to help you. It's just you've got to stay strong in hope, and that's what really pushed me through. I knew there were answers. They just might not be at my fingertips, and it did take me a while, but hope is what pushed me through.
But really, what are the answers, or what are some of the answers that you found along this path? You think it's going to be beneficial to the audience? You can share them.
Well, look, the treatments from 2020, or sorry, 2000 to 2000 to 2025 have greatly improved. There's more options for medications, and again, because I believe the internet has provided, while it can be something that is aggravating, it can also be something that's very positive, and it has provided a way for people to um, learn what other physicians in other countries have studied and have found. And so there is great advancement with the medicines that you can take. There's great advancement, and I hesitate to say this, but I want to make this known first. While the disease may be the same, not every AERD patient reacts or responds to the exact treatments that another patient responds to. For myself, I've also found that infrared sauna, acupuncture, chiropractic care, um, uh, I do a lot of like swimming and cold plunge, and a lot of those non-conventional therapies have helped me, but I believe that those help in conjunction with the medications that I take.
All right, really, in reality, what has been the challenges so far as regards this disease? And also, I like to ask, when you found out that you had AERD, what was the doctor's report? Did they say it is an hereditary disease, or how did it come about?
It's not inherited. It typically affects women of middle age. It usually, like myself, will come out of nowhere. There's a lot of there's a lot of theories behind what causes it, but there's not specific causes at this point. In my case, I took a lot of antibiotics when I was much younger. Just anytime anytime I had a cold or anything like that, I was prescribed antibiotics. There is some correlation to that. It is not a curable disease. It is also not a autoimmune disease. And so, finding that correct medication, or cocktail of medications, if you will, is vitally important, because that's what keeps you medically managed and able to have a wonderful quality of life. But the challenges, to answer the first part of that question, you know, the, the challenges are, the medications are extremely expensive. And so I am very passionate, and I do I support a lot of organizations and a lot of legislative acts, if you will, to help bring down the cost of these medications. The other thing that insurance companies require doctors and patients to do, which is absolutely maddening, is it's called step down therapy, where your physician may know that you need, let's say you need this drug A, but the insurance is requiring drug D, C, and B to be administered and tried first before you can have the one that your physician knows will be the key to helping you be medically maintained and have a good quality of life. It's not that those other drugs won't work, but it's just that your physician knows your story and your body and what drug will work in your situation. But a lot of patients are being forced to do step down therapy. I think the expense is the other thing. I know how well these drugs work for us patients, but the expense, even with insurance, is sometimes cost prohibitive to people. And so while there are assistance programs, sometimes it still isn't enough where a patient can afford the medication. And also the medications that work really well are not readily available in other countries, or they're not prescribed the same way they are here. It's a whole different ballgame, and I don't dive into that, but I do say that because it's it's sad that we know that specific drugs work for specific diseases, but yet depending on where you live, you're not able to access them. And that's maddening. But that's not a problem that's going to change today, tomorrow, next year. That's a problem that's going to take a very long time to correct.
So what has been your coping mechanism?
Well, again, finding a physician, I have a team of physicians that, you have an ENT, you have a pulmonologist, you have an allergist. So working really closely with my medical group, documenting my health journey, things that happen in between visits, because your physician only sees you for a very short time periodically. So they don't know what goes on in your day-to-day life and what reactions you're having or what symptoms you're having. And so making sure you keep a medical journal and share that with your physicians. And then again, I've just found the right non-conventional therapies that work for me. And none of them are anything that are really odd or strange. Quite honestly, a lot of them it's all really self-care. It's things we probably should be doing anyway. Exercise, massage. I'm not saying I get lymphatic massages to help move the lymph system. Infrared therapy, red light therapy, infrared sauna, acupuncture, chiropractic care. These are all things that are self-care, which we should always be doing anyway, regardless of whether we have a disease or not. But these things really supplement the medications that I'm taking, and they work well for me.
Rhonda, I have 21 questions for you once again. During the course of these symptoms, AERD, what has really changed about your personal life and your relationships? And again, we understand that women face a variety of health challenges, and because in all of these, they still have to cope with the challenges of personal life, their career, the home front, and all that goes with it. So what advice will you be able to offer this set of people, especially in the pursuit of the dreams that they have? Because you have a dream and I also have a dream. And sometimes changes happen in our life, and in one way or the other may alter the visions and the dreams we have in our hearts. So how are you able to cope?
Well, I think the first thing that a patient needs is a really good support system, whether that's your spouse, friends, family, or a combination of all of it. In my case, AERD is a very tiring disease, not only physically, but mentally, when it's not well maintained. And so, when you're trying to raise a family or you're trying to do all the things that you aspire to do in your life, and you're affected with any disease, the support system around you is vitally important. And you have to communicate with that support system, and you have to let them know when you're having, bad days, or when the disease is flaring up, or when you need help. You can't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And I think women a lot of times feel like we can't do that. And it's vitally important to take that step.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rhonda, for sharing your thoughts with my audience. So let's move to taking care of ourselves. That's absolutely important for every woman out there, because we overuse ourselves undoubtedly. So how can a woman reinvent herself? Do you think age really matter in this instance?
I don't. Listen, I will say, in my late 20s, early 30s, I thought, wow, here I am. I'm this powerhouse and whatever. You move into your 40s and you realize I didn't know anything when I was in my 20s and 30s. And by the time you get to your middle age, mid 50s, 60s, you realize you are in one of the most powerful times of your entire life because of the experiences you've lived, the knowledge you've gained, the relationships you've built and created. And therefore, I feel like women are absolutely in their prime in midlife. And that's when you are armed with all of the things that you need to just go out there and chase your dream and make it happen.
Right. So let's talk on women and stress. So, do you think that women are overly stressful than men, and how can they stay heart healthy?
I don't know. I am a horrible worrier. I worry about everything. My husband likes to say I make things up to worry about. Um, I don't know that yes, women, I think women do stress more about things than men most of the time. But again, I think it's very important that we women realize that we have to carve out time, not only for ourselves and our bodies, but for our minds. So, what do I mean by that? Find 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, an hour if you can, of the day to just shut everything and everybody out. And meditate if that's what works for you, do yoga if that's what works for you. Sit and just think about all the things that you dream and aspire to do, or just sit in a quiet time. Again, it's self-care. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of the other things that we need to in our lives.
All right, Rhonda, do you have any exciting news you'd like to share with the audience? Perhaps a project you think it's going to add value to the audience of the podcast. Go ahead and share if you have any.
I do have a couple of things in the works. We haven't inked the deal on them yet, so I am not at liberty to say what they are. But I do have. It's all centered around women. One is centered around specifically women in midlife, but the other one is women of all ages. I am super excited about them. I hope all of the pieces come together. I believe in my heart they will. It's just sometimes I want it to happen faster than it does happen, and you can't you can't force things. You have to let them happen. So there are a couple of things working.
Good to know that. Do you have any parting word you like to share with the audience? And we like to have your social media handles on your website to learn more about you and what you've been up to lately, Rhonda. You can share.
I just really would like to say, back to one of your questions, does age matter? I am such a believer that we women in midlife are just in the absolute prime of our lives. And it doesn't matter how big or small your dream is, or if you want to reinvent yourself and start something completely new, whatever it is, don't ever give up on doing it, on making it happen. And like I said, sometimes we want things happen faster than normal. You just let them happen, and you throw it out there, and I believe that it can happen. People can find me and keep up with the new projects at rhondabnelson.com. And I just want to say, for patients who may be struggling with what they think could possibly be AERD, there's several websites that they can go to for a ton of resources. One is allergyasthmanetwork.org, which is, I am on the board of Allergy Asthma Network, and there is a wealth of information not only about AERD, but a ton of diseases that fall under their umbrella. Also, SAMTERS, SAMTERS, society.org is all about AERD. And then people who are struggling to figure out how to be their own advocate or need resources, Patient Advocate Foundation, which is patientadvocate.org. There's a wealth of information there to know how to be your own advocate.
Right, good to know. Thanks for sharing that important resource with the audience. Rhonda, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of the audience of Live Olive Omobola Stephen, we wish you best of luck in the project that you embark upon now and also in the nearest future.
Thank you so much,
Thank
and thank
you
you again for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, Rhonda. We had a great time as you share your thoughts on overcoming challenges that are associated with AERD, main aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease, and the importance of never giving up hope for relief. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and also your professional expertise in this regard. If you'd like to catch up any missed episodes of the podcast, you can catch up on any podcast distribution platforms or any podcast promotion platforms to bump into online. And I guarantee you, you're going to have a great time listening to transformative insight from professionals who have done there. They've been there and they've done that. All about personal development and self-improvement topics that is going to transform your life and give you a mind shift. Till I come your way, I need you always to stay safe. My name is Omobola Stephen. I'm the host of Live Olive Omobola Stephen. Thank you once again for joining me. And I really appreciate your time once again, Rhonda. That was a great show we had.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful week.
Sure, I do. And wish you same.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.